Pre-war technology is a subject that has come up multiple times over the course of this series. Many of those times, however, were related to military technology, weaponry, implements of death. Rarely has it been something innocent. Well, today, we look at a place that is both. Wilson Atomatoys, the headquarters of which we should look at first, located in the middle of Boston. The place is occupied by super mutants now. But sure, when has that ever stopped us? Let's take a gander. We entered the building through this basement, and two doors offer us access further into the building. One requires a key, the other a key card, and I will show you where to procure both. The room to the left of these doors is where the first super mutants are encountered, and we can see some evidence of them making themselves at home, though it gets worse as we get deeper in. The ceiling is caved in on this floor, and the same can be said for the next few. The elevators have, unfortunately, shit the bed, although a rubble ramp gives us access to the next floor. The next room is where they kept some of their captives, although the cages are empty now. They were kind enough to give them a bucket to shit in, however. On a shelf next to those cages, we can find the bloody bones of some poor sod, the rest of which is probably sitting in the stomachs of the many super mutants I killed, or in a pile of super mutant shit. Behind us is a hole in the wall that leads to a whole corpse. Since they're not bloody like most of the other skeletons super mutants have, and they're whole, I think they died a long time ago, likely where they sat. Why they died, however, is a mystery. The next room has too many robotic horses for my liking, although they do offer you a large supply of parts. The roof of the room is also caved in, hopefully crushing some of the metallic bastards, and giving us access to the next floor. Though, not just yet. We head back to where we originally went left, and head through the door that required the keycard. It leads us into a room with banks of computer equipment, though none of it is working anymore. A terminal at the far end opens into a closet that has some loot in it, and then we progress on to the next room. It too has a collapsed floor, and I'm starting to think it might be the super mutants doing, as it allows them easier access and movement about the building. If we take it up, we come to an office space that did not escape the interior design abilities of the super mutants. We can also take a look out one of the windows and see the barely generated landscape. Makes you wonder why Bethesda gave us the ability to do this. One of the rooms gives us something more, our first terminals. The first terminal belonged to a secretary called Paula Marshall. The first entry is about the ID cards that some rooms require. It seems people kept requesting temporary ones, and management got sick of it. Reminds you of anywhere? The second entry is about a man called Arlen Glass. It appears he was fired, and keeps making attempts to come back onto the premises. This is not the last time we'll hear about him. Beside that terminal is a sales report on the Giddyup Buttercup toys. Someone called Nate wants Paula to fix the report so it predicts lower costs, which reminds me of Hallucinogen, and these two companies are, in a way, related. It also appears Nate had a date with Paula, the dog. Nate's terminal is the other one in the room. The first entry is his calendar. It is here that we see mention of Scythe, a government program that Hallucinogen were also trying to get involved in, and they had a meeting about it coming up. It also mentions a cancelled lunch with the CEO and Arlen, and his date. Entry 2 is the Scythe status report. It's dated the 15th of October. They are a week ahead of schedule and they have converted almost half of their assembly line for the project, though we don't know what they were making yet. They're going to begin training the staff and production was begin the 1st of November, which obviously never happened. The last is the security warning on Arlen. Then, we can listen to Marc's warning holotape.
Damn it, Nate, where are you? After today's meeting, it's going to take a miracle to salvage the Scythe contract, and you decided to take the evening off? Look, I wanted to keep the old man out of it, but what can I do? He called me out in front of the board. I had to fire him. Where do you stand, Nate? Are you with me or with him? I want you in my office Monday at 9 sharp. We can discuss the contract, or we can discuss your resignation. It's up to you.
So it appears that an old man caused a commotion in the Scythe board meeting, the old man being Arlen, and Marc, the CEO, fired him for it. Nate seems to have just left when this happened, and Marc says he either has to get on board or get fired. It's clear this contract was causing quite a bit of division in the company. As we pass through the collapsed area and the toilets, where the walls have been knocked in, we come to a part of the floor that led up from the Buttercup room, taking it all full circle. We now go through the door that was on the right at the beginning, and take the stairs up. This leads us to the main foyer of the building, with collapsed debris blocking the front entrance. The company mascot is still here. Still creepy. And I find it quite impressive that after so long, it's still standing in one piece. By the front desk, an office note can be found next to the terminal. It's about Arlen, and it's from Paula to the secretary, Jen. It seems Arlen was well liked, though no one knows why he was fired. He had a daughter, Marlene, who seems to visit occasionally. Nate didn't go to his date. Foolish move, Nate. The terminal was Jenny Jenkins, whom the note was addressed to. The first entry is in the board meeting. Colonel was going to be present, likely to do with the Scythe program. This is also the meeting during which Arlen was fired. The office to the right of this desk is where we find one set of keys and a key card. The keys are by the terminal, and the card is inside one of the cabinets. The terminal belonged to security. The first entry contains 3 security logs. First is from the 21st. The turrets were upgraded, probably because of the Scythe contract. Marlene arrived and Arlen seems to have kept her waiting. Then the visitor's ID was put back, in the same cabinet I pointed out. Entry 2 was the day of the meeting, and passes were issued to the board and the colonel. Then the disturbance happened, and they had to escort Arlen off the property multiple times. Then they called the police. The 23rd is weird. I mean, I assume this was manual entry, so why the fuck did they say they were going on a lunch break when a nuke had dropped roughly an hour ago? Dedication to the job there. I skipped the protocol entry by accident, but there was nothing of interest in it. We take the ramp in the next room up, and it brings us up to... well, I want to say the next floor, but it doesn't really have one. We head left and into a wee cinema, and yes, I do think it's weird, and random. We do find a body here with a quantum beside it, and near that, another key. I'm assuming the initial blast killed this one. Outside that room, we can go straight and arrive at Arlen's office. It's completely untouched. Everything's still in its place after all these years. The toys are likely Marlene's. We find a reminder note on his desk from his wife Cheryl to pick up Marlene. The first entry on his terminal is his calendar, and a lot of cancelled meetings are here, though whether they were updated after he was fired, I'm not sure, which would be a bit weird since they'd already happened. It also appears he was not initially invited to the board meeting, or perhaps he wasn't invited at all, and that was the disturbance. Documents contains 3 entries. The first is the sales forecast, which appears to be the report that needed to be revised. The sales of the product and the brand have been decreasing for a while now, it seems. Also, if that is how much these things cost, Jesus Christ, like fair enough, I'm not sure how much $1 was actually worth back then, but still. Next is the draft reply from Arlen. He ponders why the numbers are going down, and suggests they need premium editions and other crap that sounds like how shit DLC is done. He then calls out Marc, though he never sent this one. The last one is the brainstorming of new ideas. Lots of ideas here, some good and some, like the Vault-Tec one, very, very bad. We can enter his locked room using the password we got from reading the security logs. It has a Buttercup that seems to be in the process of being repaired, and a terminal. The first entry is reminders. He seems to be forgetful, and he works late. It appears he didn't know what the board meeting was either, which explains his outrage. Also, the next month is brutal. A birthday and an anniversary, and with what we find out later? Jesus. Next is the development logs. The 14th is about the horse kicking a hole in the floor. Remember, this was a children's toy. Some Vault-Tec levels of nonsense going on here. The next was the 17th. The colouring is not going well, and it resulted in him skipping his daughter's recital, further outlining that he may have not been a great dad. He never got the chance to make it up to her. The 20th suggests that the factory supervisor knew about Scythe, and was not responding to Arlen for this reason. He was feeling pressured at this point. We also get his daughter's holotape here, but we'll listen to that later. So sales were down, and Arlen was having trouble coming up with a solution. It also appears he was kept in the dark about Scythe. He was also forgetful, and maybe not the best dad because of how much he worked. We find a corpse inside this doorway just opposite the platform that had his office on it, and it seems they died when the bombs hit, though oddly they have iguana bits in their lunch. Next, we enter the office of the CEO, Marc Wilson, and learn the rest of this story. Over by the desk, if we look in the bin, we can find a holotape called Arlen's Manifesto.
Marc, do you know why toys are important? They help children dream. They let them imagine a better future beyond this blasted war. They give them hope. 30 years ago, I met a man who understood that. Your father and I built Wilson Atomatoys on that hope. He poured his life into that hope. And now, you've thrown it all away. Sold it in search of a quick profit. It's still not too late. If you won't do it for me, for your father, for the company, then please do it for the children.
Do it for the children. Alright, calm down there, Arlen. Bit melodramatic. So he founded the company with Marc's father, and he made this tape after he was fired. Since it's in the bin, I doubt Marc even bothered his arse to listen to it. We can find a warning note from Tom, the colonel, telling Marc that the bombs have been fired and to get to his shelter. It seems several company heads were told ahead of time, as this is not the first time this has happened. The first entry on his terminal is his calendar, and a lot of it is about Scythe, and we also see a lunch with Tom, so they were on familiar terms. The next one is about the Scythe program approval. They met the requirements and will take part in the program. They don't want him to tell everyone, however, and that is probably part of the reason he didn't tell Arlen, as he wouldn't be involved at all. The last entry is on the program specification. The purpose was to utilize civilian infrastructures to make military munitions, if a time came when they were at war and required them. They were going to make landmines, and also continue with the Buttercup toys for a while at least. In his desk, we find a resignation letter from Marc's father. So Marc's father also chose work over his family like Arlen, but it seems like it was in a much worse way. Since Arlen sort of did the same, perhaps that was part of the reason Marc fired him. He resented him because of what he did to his daughter. Marc's father resigned in the end and passed on his legacy to Marc, who doesn't really seem to have liked it all that much. The last thing to look at here is one of the elevators. This woman seems to have made a last stand of sorts based on where she died and the gun. That makes it likely that she had a post-war death, unless this place was even crazier than it seems. Next, we shall head to the factory, where the landmines were going to be made. So here it is, the factory, down near Poseidon Energy, and now illuminated by a pleasant radiation storm. Our first corpse is also present here, a woman taking shelter beside the building, a suitcase beside her. She probably died just after the bombs went off. The super mutants have taken up residence here, unfortunately. One of them is called Big Mac, named after a fan that, unfortunately, has passed away. May he rest in peace. The super mutants have dug in here, which makes sense as this building is very defendable. Inside, we can see the remains of the assembly line, which at the time was still making buttercups. If you came here for landmines, you will be disappointed, unfortunately, though many buttercup parts can still be found here, so it's sort of a consolation prize. One door can be found that requires a keycard, although there's nothing of interest inside, unfortunately. The keycard can be obtained upstairs in one of the cabinets. The roof is quite barren as well, save for one thing of interest. We can walk along the top of this pipe, and we eventually come to a missing section of it that allows us to drop down inside the pipe. At the end of it, a corpse can be found, surrounded by bags of cement. Oddly enough, it looks like a corpse some super mutants had a go at. Perhaps this was pre-war and someone murdered them and tried to seal them up in here with concrete. Now, let's go meet Arlen. Yup, he not dead. He's at the slog. A ghoul now, still working in the buttercups. Let's give him his daughter's holotape, shall we?
Hello?
Huh? Oh, excuse me. Sorry. Sorry, didn't mean to ignore you. Just got caught up in my work again. So, what do you think? Nice, isn't she?
Are you the Arlen Glass? The toy designer?
I am. Where did you hear that?
Did you have a daughter?
Marlene. She died in the war. I wasn't the best father. Too old. Worked too much. In the end, I never even got to say goodbye.
I think I have something that belongs to you.
Holotape? Let's see now.
Go ahead. Hi, Daddy. When are you coming home?
Oh, God.
You work too much. I want you to read to me again. Mommy says you're helping all the horsies find good homes. Take care of them, okay?
I have.
I love you.
And
Oh, Buttercup says she loves you too. We miss you. Come home soon.
oh, Marlene. Give me a minute. It's been so long. I never thought I'd hear their voices again. You can't imagine what this means to me.
What happened to them?
We had an apartment in Cambridge. I went to the office that morning to try to talk to Marc again. When it all happened, I tried to get back, but the city was in chaos. By the time I got home, there was only a crater. I lay down in the ruins. I just wanted to die. Instead, I woke up like this.
It's a long story, but I lost my wife and son too.
Then maybe you can understand. She was right, you know. I did work too much. And now, I'll never hear her voice again. Never get to hold her. Kiss her goodnight. All I have left are the memories. And this tape, as one father to another. Thank you.
What now?
I can't possibly repay you for this. Here, take everything I have. It's not much, but... And one more thing. I was saving this for her birthday. All these years, it was all I had to remember her by. Please, I want you to have it.
Well, would you look at that? We did something nice for a change, guys. Feels good, doesn't it? So this was Wilson Atomatoys, a company that built the Giddyup Buttercup. However, the sales were falling, and Arlen, despite brainstorming, had no plan to improve them. Good thing too, Vault-Tec almost got involved, but they didn't, thank the gods. However, Marc did have a plan. The Scythe program, a military program to repurpose civilian factories to make military munitions. He set it up with Colonel Thomas Nelson, whom he got quite chummy with in the end, to the point that he warned him of the bombs. Fucking arsehole. Arlen worked late and was getting on in his years, so he was a bit forgetful, but he helped set the company up with Marc's father, who resigned and passed it on to Marc years later. Arlen left the company after the Scythe board meeting, which he may or may not have been invited to. Not sure. He caused a scene and called Marc out, probably because he thought it went against the vision of the company. Marc responded by firing him, and Nate left too, as he doesn't seem to have agreed with Marc's decision. Arlen returned to talk to Marc, but the bombs hit, and he survived Somehow, right, okay, we really need an answer on why some people survived so close to the bombs and others didn't, Bethesda. It's getting a bit ridiculous. He returned home to get his family, only to find a smouldering crater where he used to live. The Cambridge crater. He lay down to die, and was turned into a ghoul, and now resides in the slug, helping out the other ghouls. If you look at his terminal, he plans to return to the crater one day. We arrived, and we gave him some closure in the form of his daughter's holotape, because we are saints. Arlen was a father, and I'm sure he meant well, and his feelings for his daughter never wavered, as, centuries later, he is still working on the toy that his company was built upon, and that his daughter loved. The story of a toy company, and its only known surviving employee. I hoped you liked this look at all of it. If you did like it, give the video a like, and if you want regular updates, subscribe. Any suggestions for lower or future videos should be left in the comments below. Better yet, go onto my subreddit so we can discuss them in more detail. It's linked in the description. If you wish to, you can support me on Patreon. £1 or $1, I ask for no more. Any rewards you would like to see there, message me and I will get back to you. Follow me on Twitter or Facebook to get regular updates or have a wee chat. Any business you wish to discuss, email me at thenthapple.business@gmail.com and I will get back to you as soon as possible. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and I hope to see you in the next one. And until then, goodbye.